launch.
Let's have a little look. Always like to check, do we?
Lauren, art now live.
Yes, Lauren, are we live, love? Let's have a little look. I think we are. Let's have a look. Awesome. Right. Yeah. Hey, everyone. Andy here from EverTrek on another Tuesday tune-in, especially with our painted Yeti Dave as well.
Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Isolation fatigue is deep.
Hey, George. How's it going, mate? Thanks for joining us again, and anyone else has joined us.
Hey.
As always, we do these on Tuesdays just to sort of take on any questions that you have around any of our trips. So, keep firing away. I know Byron, here he is again. He was on last week. Look at him.
Hey, Byron.
Fire away with some questions, mate.
I've just written a response to Byron's email. Expect it shortly, Byron.
I know. Yeah, Byron, we were talking about you because I saw your email come in, and when are you going now? Is it 2022? I believe your trip. So you got some time yet, but great to see that you're on it, mate, and you're passionate about and excited for your trip. So it'll be there before you know it. But so today, me and Dave were chatting, and we apologies if you had an email from us or the tagline says, "What are you sleeping with?" We had a few messages back saying, "Ooh, that kind of tricked me a little bit." But it's sleeping bags are really important, and it's something that like when the first trips that we did, Dave, whether it be Everest Base Camp, you kind of you take anything really because that's sort of all we knew at the time. But as time sort of creeped on and you kind of learn a few things and, how you feel and, you kind of test a few out, we got sort of certain ones that we use now when it comes to sleeping bags. As always, it depends on where you're going, what time of year. So sometimes we kind of talk about it and we say, oh, well, you need this sort of sleeping bag or you need this one. Most of the time, if you were aiming for one particular sleep or, like one or two sleeping bags, you're looking at 3 to 4 seasons on most of our trips, unless you're climbing a peak like Island Peak or Mera Peak.
Yeah.
But we'll sort of go into different bits anyway about sleeping bags. Dave, sleeping bags. Then where do we start?
Well, they're an important and bulky part of the trip. They fill up a lot of space.
Yeah.
I was thinking like they are really important, but it's something that people tend to sort of, I don't know, they either go way, way over the top or way, way not enough, so, and with places like Everest Base Camp, the weather is very changeable. Like you'll have some nights that are really warm. Like I've done a trip in September where I didn't use a sleeping bag for the entire trip. Even a Goreksha, didn't use it. It was just like a big pillow support and I just used the blanket they gave you. Yeah. And then I went last October and it was really, really cold. So my sleeping bag was needed every night. Now, like Andy said, 3 to 4 season minimum. But there are some sort of 2 season bags that are really expensive, so people might think that that's great, but they're expensive because they're probably lightweight, maybe water resistant and stuff like that. I personally think, if you imagine you were going camping in the Scottish winter, that's what you want.
Good point.
No sleeping bag is really too warm because you don't have to sit in it cooking. You can always unzip it and unflap it and turn it into a blanket or whatever. Personally I know Andy uses the Rab Ascent. Is it the 7?
It's a 700. Yeah.
700. Yeah.
I thought I'd even show and tell today, so I actually brought it with me from all the way from my living room. This is the Rab Ascent. It's, I may as well get it out now. Nice little rustle. Well, as you can see, it's quite dense down. And this is when it comes to the equipment and sleeping bags. It's either down or synthetic. You do have some some vegan options as well. So where it's it's almost not even ethically sourced. It's even more than that.
Yeah.
I know that Diane, I think, asked a while back now about different types, and there are some out there. So if you are, if you are a vegan or anything like that, there are sleeping bags available for you, like down jackets as well. They
Yeah.
always tend to be a bit on the pricey side. If you look at those sort of products, but the Rubber 700, you're looking at about £190 for a brand new one. So, but they are really good, very good.
Yeah, I also think that when if you're going to Everest Base Camp, our Nepalese side operation, we are able to provide certain things like sleeping bags for you.
Yeah.
Our advice is bring your own liner because they're not brand new.
Hey, Brian.
They're like clean and good for purpose.
Yeah.
You always have that added comfort of knowing that what's actually touching you is brand new. So bring a liner, like a silk liner. You can buy a cotton liner for like £5. Silk liner is probably maybe close to 30. And they do add quite a lot of warmth as well, especially the silk liners. They add quite a lot of extra warmth. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend doing if you want to save, because they are. I mean, the Rubber 700, and how much is that? That's about a 350, 400 quid sleeping bag, something like that.
No, this one, it was 190, these ones.
190, okay.
But I think, if you look at the 900, it's even more. There are even sort of 5-season sleeping bags, and you're talking, but they're the expedition level.
Yeah.
In terms of climbing an 8,000 meter peak, don't really need that, unless you go to the Arctic. Saying that, I think, if you're looking at the different levels, because when it comes to any sleeping bag, they got different sort of levels, haven't they? They got I sort of done a few notes, but it's typically you've got like the comfort, which is pretty much anything that is a male would be comfortable at, and have a good night's sleep. Then you've got things like what we got here. You got lower limit, extreme. You've got like upper limit. To be honest, when you're looking at these, never go for the extreme one, because that's almost the coldest you can do to survive. And you want to make these trips as easy as you can. So go for the comfort if you can, where that is, if it's -10 in comfort, that means if it's -10, you can have a decent night's sleep.
Yeah.
You're not going to be freezing your nuts off.
Exactly.
So definitely worth looking at that sort of range. Because I hear some people and they're like, oh, look at this one, it goes down to -15, but that's the extreme.
Yeah. I think Sarah said she should be on the trek right now. Man, that's good. Don't worry, Sarah, it'll come around soon enough. Byron, the Rab 1100, that's a
oh, wow.
That's a proper sleeping bag, that's one that'll be really, really good. Like I use the Rabs, and Andy uses the Rab 700.
Yeah.
So the 1100 is more dense down, more loft. It'll be thicker and heavier duty. It'll definitely be up for the task of Kilimanjaro. I can guarantee you that. Even on the colder nights, you should be completely fine.
Yeah. Because ours on Kili, wasn't it, Dave? Ours were perfect. The 700s. Yeah,
really good. Yeah, I mean, we were quite lucky. I think it was never too cold, was it, when we were there? Even summit night we lucked out, because the night before there was a huge storm with like mega high winds and stuff like that, and we had it in the camp below, like a lightning show. It's like a Pink Floyd concert on Kilimanjaro.
Was pretty nuts, wasn't it? So I'm just going through here. We've got a few people on the live now. Yeah, great to see all of the familiar names. Ramona, thanks for joining us as well. Claire, Paul, Chloe, Dave, and more Daves. It's great to see you all here, guys. So there's a few questions then, Dave.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one we'll ask first, because I think George mentioned with the crap happening just now. I'll put it on here. George, it's in terms of the backlog running into late next year. It's one of those things at the moment. I don't know if you were on last week's live. We touched on it a little bit, and we sent some correspondence out to everyone in the autumn at the moment. And pretty much it's one of those things that's kind of it's okay right now, because we just don't know, and it's, as you know, things move at almost a daily rate, and it can change every day. So at the moment, the autumn's going ahead for us. In terms of our trips, everything's fine. Obviously, if the restrictions are still there, whether that be UK, Nepal, Tanzania, wherever you're going, obviously we have to look at rescheduling. In terms of then pushing trips back to next year, we have looked. A few alternatives we've had. Again, we've sent sort of details out, but just to let you know, we've created more trips. We're quite fortunate that we've got quite a lot of capacity to run trips sort of as and when we need to. So we've kind of done that. We've done that in the autumn for people who reschedule from the spring, and we've also done it for next year, because we realise these are kind of crazy times, and we want to try and be as flexible as we can. And part of that is just opening up new dates, whether that be, because instead of one thing we sort of normally do, or we can do, is add sort of 2 trips that go simultaneously. So you're separate groups with a separate guide, but pretty much you're going up at the same time. But what we've sort of decided to do as well is we've opened up some midweek trips. So instead of arriving on a Saturday, we've done it on a Wednesday, and some people really like that option, just so it sort of spreads it out a little bit. Just to make it a sort of as good an experience as it can be for you. So I hope that sort of answers your question, George.
I love Chloe Boxall's comment there. Her sleeping bag was a toasty cloud. Brilliant. I'm going to steal that. I'll credit you, Chloe, but the next time I write about a sleeping bag, I'm going to refer to them as toasty clouds. That's quality. That's all we do these for, is just to get material.
No, it's great. Ramona's on it again with her questions. So, sleeping bags for phones and juice bags. Wow, imagine making those tailor size. That'd be quite cool.
To be honest, I never really worry too much, and I carry enough juice, to power the mountain usually. So to be honest, most of the time you're not wearing your down jacket, so I'll probably just like force them into the stuff sack where my down jacket is, or wrap them up in my sleeping bag or something like that. But if I'm being honest, most of the time they just get chucked in the bag, and you let the chips fall where they may. Sometimes I might lose some power, sometimes not. I think with the power banks, there is a lot of talk about whether they lose a lot of power when they're cold. Certainly true if you have them out. So when I was in base camp last year in October, I mentioned previously it was really cold. And I was charging my phone in Gorekshep one night, and I just had it on the table next to my bed. And when I woke up, it was almost completely dead because the room was -10.
It's cold there, isn't it?
Yeah. So that type of activity will sap it. So if you are charging your phone and in the night and it's cold, just stick it in your sleeping bag next to you. And then that's more than enough. Another top tip as well, actually, which is if it is cold, or like Byron said, he's a cold man, temperature wise, warm heart. But like what I would tend to do is get my sleeping bag, and then anything I'm going to wear the next day, if I don't wear it to bed, which I'll be honest, I do quite a lot, just so I wake up, put my boots on, and off I go. But just put like a base layer in your sleeping bag, your trousers in your sleeping bag, your socks, everything. So when you wake up in the morning, they're the same temperature as you are. So when you put them on,
handy, isn't it?
Yeah, it seriously, it makes a big difference, because there's nothing more debilitating than when you wake up at Gorekshep at like 4 a.m. ready to go up Kalapatar, and you've got to put on freezing cold clothes. I'll be honest, in that situation, you'd probably just sleep in the clothes you're going to wear.
Yeah.
But it does stay true that, a lot of people like to take their socks off, let their feet breathe, and also like change a base layer. So if you're going to put one on, make sure you keep it in your sleeping bag, keeps it warm for you. That's a little top tip.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing, you can do that also with the water, isn't it, Dave? I know something that we tend to do is, say you get some hot water in the evenings, you put it in times your flask or something, is that you can just put it in the sleeping bag. It acts as a like a hot water bottle.
Yeah,
keeps you warm, keeps you toasty, and when you get up, then it's kind of good to drink because it's already been boiled. Something that we've kind of done. So very good point there, Ramona. Let's have a little look. Who else have we got on here? Let's have a look. Just got some.
The Rab 700's doing good. To be honest, it is a good bag, and I think that if you are suffering and you are a little bit cold, there's always things you can do. So, like obvious reasons, you can just put your down jacket on. You can put a pair of like long johns on, or like Andy said, fill up a bottle with hot water and take it to bed with you. So the Rab 700, I think, hits that sweet spot where it's warm enough for almost anybody, and it doesn't take much then to get comfortable if it is a bit cold for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a sleeping bag? Paul Meacher, is there a sleeping bag liner that's better than the others?
Where is he? There he is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are some out there that are like antimicrobial, so they don't smell. There are others that are silk and they keep you warmer.
Yeah.
With a liner, to be honest, I don't really spend that much money on it. Like I bought a liner before, and it was a silk one, and I think I paid around £30 for it. And that's it's done me fine, you know. So I don't think like the best liner that you can possibly have is stuff you wrap around your body. So a down jacket, some warm trousers and stuff like that. So yeah, you never really get into a situation where the liner is like the linchpin that means you're either warm or cold. You know, it's just like an added comfort to have if you use it.
Off, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It takes the edge off.
Yeah.
If you're using one of our sleeping bags that we provide to you that aren't brand new, it's a little bit more comforting just to have that on you rather than a bag someone else has slept in. So,
yeah, exactly. And that's it sort of brings me on to another question, because I think I saw a question here. Where is it? Let's have a look. Sorry, I'm just skimming through here. Here we go. I think it's Sital. Sital, hi. I know you joined. You've been on a few lives now, haven't you? But yeah, great question. So when it comes to the ones we provide for Basecamp, yeah, 100%. You know, we wouldn't want to give you anything that's going to keep you cold. So, you know, the ones we provide, they're all used. You know, they're not going to be as good as the ones you can buy in the UK, because they're locally sourced. You know, this is why we do sometimes recommend bringing a liner. And again, it goes back to what Dave just said there. It doesn't have to be like, you know, the ultimate liner that you can buy. Just a cheap one would be fine, just to go inside of a sleeping bag if you want to, you know, a bit of hygiene. I mean, all of them are cleaned afterwards, but just for your own peace of mind, really. You know, so definitely they're fine. You know, if you wanted to bring your own silk liner, that's fine, Sital. I think I've done it before, where I've taken a liner. I actually, one of the very first times I went to Basecamp, I actually took a fleece liner, which was a big mistake because it's too warm.
Yeah,
a fleece liner. It was very comfy, but then you'd wake up because it's just too warm, so you'd sweat, and it's no good really. Yeah. You want to the tea houses we use in Nepal. Most of them, 90% of them, have got duvets and blankets. So if you do need extra stuff and you don't have the warmest sleeping bag, you know, you can use that. The only thing I would say is that when it comes to something like Kili, when you're camping, that's when you need to have the decent sleeping bag. That, you know, the Rabasent 700. When we do Kili, we don't provide sleep bags for free, but you can hire them. It's very nominal cost that you can actually pick up one of the local ones. Again, if you don't want to buy, you know, go and spend, you know, £180 plus on a decent sleeping bag. You know, but they are there, as Paula says. I know, if Cotswold Outdoor, you know, don't forget your 15% with using the EverTrek code. You know, if you're booked in with us, don't forget to use that, unless obviously it's already got the discount on it.
Yeah. I just noticed Ramona said hi to Padam. I haven't seen. Is he on live? If he is, namaste, Padam.
Padam, how you going, mate?
Yeah, one of our massively experienced guides. I think he's done Basecamp over 400 times.
Yeah.
Also helps out with the Everest Marathon quite regularly. So yeah, absolutely beast of a guide. How's it going? A couple of questions there. So Dave, do you lads supply Bergens? If so, what liter? So right, the bags we provide. So you don't really need a huge, big, like high capacity rucksack for. Yeah, so they're the duffel bags that we put. Nice one. I just had that. Just accidentally had that by then.
Well, I had the sleeping bag in it, so.
Yeah. So the setup that we use, Dave, is pretty much you arrive in, say, if you're going to use our bag, you arrive in Kathmandu. You can arrive there with a normal suitcase if you want to, and then what will happen is we'll give you the EverTrek duffel bag, which is around 80 liters. You don't carry that, the porters carry it, and it carries the bulk of all your equipment. All you need to have is your day sack. We usually recommend anything 25 to 35 liters is enough for a day pack. Depends how much you like to carry. I tend to be on the 25 liters. Andy's on the 35 liters end of the yeah, so I do recommend getting a good day pack. But other than that, like the big military style, big heavy Bergens, you don't really need it on any of our trips, to be honest with you, because you won't be carrying that much. So yeah, the duffel bag, which we give you if you go into Nepal. If you go into Tanzania, you can rent those. They're only like a couple of dollars a day or something like that. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely very well explained, mate.
Mick, how's it going, Mick?
Good old Mick. I just read what he was saying.
Yeah.
Good old Mick. Here we go. Yeah, so we got the article about the best sleeping bags. I'll put it on there, look. So if you are looking at different types of sleeping bag, guys, and ladies and gents, just have a little look at that one. What? Who? Carl. Carl's on here. How you doing, Carl? Great to see you on, mate. Let's have a look. So, sleeping bag that isn't a mummy shape. Yeah, there's a few. There's a few about. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because they are. It's ones basically. I mean, they are quite restrictive, aren't they? The old mummy shape, and I know they're not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
There are ones out there. I off the top of my head, Dave, have you got any idea? I know there's.
It kind of ties in with a question that Tony's asked as well.
Okay.
You know, if you are sort of on the larger size, those mummy ones, they can be quite sort of restrictive, and you can't even move an elbow.
Yeah.
Well, most of the major brands, I'm pretty sure Rab do. I'm pretty sure Mountain Equipment do. Like these XL sleeping bags. You know, my old man is about 18 odd stone and he's 6'4". So I'll find out what sleeping bag he uses. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll definitely find out and put it in the comments. But yeah, most of the brands do larger sleeping bags. To be honest, I'd be more inclined just to Google XL sleeping bag, you know, 2XL sleeping bag, and then filter it by the main brands. If you stick with like a 3 to 4 season by Rab, Mountain Equipment, Mountain Hardware, you pretty much can't go wrong. They might be relatively more expensive, but you can't go wrong with the quality and stuff like that. So yeah, stick with the main brands. Make sure you've got 3 to 4 seasons. And yeah, those square ones rather than the mummy shape, they are out there, but I'll be honest, they're few and far between these days because the mummy shape, particularly for like trekking, just traps more heat.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose of the design is just to keep you warmer and more compact. The larger the sleeping bag, you know, the more space there is around you that has to be heated up by your body. So they're not as effective as keeping your core as warm as the mummy shape. But definitely most of the big brands do extra large sleeping bags. Yeah, I would, to be honest, search for it. Check out all the forums, check out all the comments. This is what that's what I do in my day anyway. Usually, it's just like, you know, read through things, check out the reviews, and then just take a punt on it. Unfortunately, like a lot of adventure trekking gear, it is trial and error, trying to find out what works for you. But just because something might not be perfect doesn't mean that it's not good enough. You know, I've done many a season with boots that weren't quite what I wanted, but were good enough. You know, and then I found the Maindel Boutans and never looked back.
I know you. Yeah, you love those now, don't you? No, I think you're right there. You know, with regards to different things, I think looking at there's a couple more questions coming through. I know Claire messaged earlier. I'm just going to go back to what she said. I know we touched on it then about Rob, would you rather get one of your own to bring to Killy or hire them? Yeah, the ones we hire out there, we used some back in February. I mean, we took our own Rabs that we use, you know, and it's pretty cold on Killy, but it's, you know, the ones they hire out there, they're good enough, as Dave said. Good is good enough sometimes. You know, unless you want to spend loads of money, you know, you can use them out there. It's relatively cheap to hire them just for the 8 days that you're trekking. You know, obviously on our trip, it's the 8-day Lamosha route. Yeah, so they're really good, Claire. So if you wanted to take advantage of that, just let us know. I think as well, Dave, you just going back to what you said then about, so I forgot to mention this. If there's a particular sleeping bag that you think, you know, you'd like advice on, then just pop it in the group, the High Altitude EverTrekkers group, because we can, obviously we'll jump in and have a little look, but also as well, we'll give our opinion on it. If we haven't used it, you know, we'll have a little look, especially with when you said about the larger ones there, just so, you know, we can give our opinion and say, okay, yeah, go for it or not. You know, just pop that in there. Sorry, I can see the signal's gone really low here. Hopefully we're not cut out.
Well, Byron has asked about
yes,
chafing. Right now, Byron, I've learned this from my cycling days. You can buy, it's called a chamois cream.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's called chamois cream, it's not because you're going to wash your car with it, but in cycling shorts, the padded area is called the chamois. You get this cream, you rub it into the chamois, and what that does is it prevents the friction and chafing.
Yeah.
You can do that. Now, the way I've used it trekking before is, and you want to do this out of sight of anybody, you just get a scoop and you literally just apply it quite thickly to where you're going to chafe. Feels quite minging, but it does stop any sort of nasty chafing. The other thing that you can do, and I do this on almost every trip I do now, is carry some like talcum powder, you know.
Yeah.
And they sell it in Namche Bazaar. They sell it everywhere. And the reason they sell it everywhere when you're going trekking is because it's so useful. One, I'll clean my hair with it. Ever since I found out that dry shampoo is basically talc, that's what I do. Make myself look like a frosted ice cream. But then the other one, mate, is literally, you'll see everybody doing it. You know, puff, puff in the socks, puff, puff down the pants. You know, and, you know, on the legs, back of the knees. And yeah, it is one of those grubby little things that we all have to do in order to look out for ourselves, because yeah, some people chafe, some people don't. And yeah, if you do it, also I've heard antiperspirant deodorant, spray it like quite thickly on your thighs.
Yeah.
And actually you wouldn't believe where I learned that one from. I was chatting to a friend of mine who was talking about a phenomenon that she said was called chub rub, which is when the thighs like rub together. And an antiperspirant deodorant worked well. So try all of those, mate, until you find what works for you. Cami cream for cycling, talc powder, deodorant, and stuff like that.
I think John makes a good point as well, because John from Brecon is on. He said, don't forget the Vaseline.
Yeah. Had to remain professional there for a second because we.
Well, you know, for chafage, and it does work actually, because if I remember rightly, Brian on here and Mick, I think we were on the training weekend, and the first time in ages I had a little bit of chafing, and they gave me their what do you call it again, Vaseline, and it worked a treat, because otherwise it would have been sore doing another day, because we did the second day on the Sunday. Absolute lifesaver. So thanks guys for giving me that. I still got it actually.
One thing Ramon has asked, I think Andy's addressed it earlier, but we may as well address it again, which is the likelihood of your trip going ahead in October. I think at the moment we are planning and aiming to go ahead with the autumn season without interruption. That's what we're planning right now. It's impossible for us to give any certainty to anybody that won't change, because we don't know truthfully what's going to happen with regards to three key things. One is, will we be able to leave the UK on a plane? Will we be able to transit through the country you need to transit through? And will you be able to land in Nepal? So what we're anticipating is, at the moment, that the UK workforce will head back to work from the 1st of July. If that's the case, we should know by then, with a reasonable level of certainty, what the autumn season is going to look like. Because if we go back to work as normal, things open up and nothing too crazy happens, yeah, you'll be on your way to the Annapurna circuit. If something unfortunate happens, I'm sure you all know the score by now. You can contact us however you want, phone, email, Facebook message, and we'll rearrange that trip for you. No stress, no fuss, no fee, plenty of that going around. We'll just move you on to another trip that suits you. But for the autumn, we anticipate right now that it's going to go ahead. If that changes, you'll know about 40 seconds after we do. Guarantee that. Hopefully
before. Especially if it's in Nepal, because we've got quite close links with some of the tourism boards in the countries we operate in. So we sometimes do find out things before it's out in the press. Not all the time, because you know, some of these journalists are bloody good. But you know, most of the time we are sort of aware, especially when it comes to the travel side of things. You know, so hopefully, and like Dave said, as soon as we know, we'll let everyone know. Yeah, exactly. That's why it takes us about 40 seconds to write the email. So we hope it's going ahead, because both myself and Andy are heading to Tupkal in November. So yeah, and I'm not even thinking about not going at the moment. I'll cross that bridge or jump off it when I get to it. No, well, Carl's another good one here. Cheers, Carl. Good questions today, mate. You mentioned about the Van Gogh Latitude. I've used that one actually. You know what? It's fine. I think 4-season mummy bag. It is, you know, 2 kilos. It's almost about balancing it out. But to be honest, the ones we hire are not too far off that. I wouldn't say it's too heavy at all. If it's you know, that's probably good for the 3 peaks, 3 passes. You know, it does get a bit cold. I can't off the top of my head think of time of year that you're going, Carl. I had to remind us if you're on here, but I think you know, even for the latter parts of the autumn, so even if you go in November or March, you know, it tends to be the colder times. I would say a 4-season Van Gogh Latitude is pretty good. I've used it, and again, it's pretty good actually. I wouldn't say, on a personal level, I prefer the Rab, but Vango makes some really good sleeping bags. So I think you got not doing too bad with that.
Carl's going on the 9th of October 2021.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, with
I just knew that, Carl. I just knew that intuitively, mate. Didn't check it on the laptop or anything there, mate. Just
very good, David. Nice, yeah, great questions today, guys. It's good to see everyone on. It's today I wanted today to be a little bit shorter because we got some stuff going on. But any questions you do post on here, we'll obviously try and get back to you as soon as we can. Going back to sleeping bags, we've talked about different types of sleeping bag, whether it's synthetic, down. You can't go too wrong really, as long as you choose 3 or a 4 season. If you're going in winter, then a little bit of, I say common sense, but it's you're probably going to need a little bit more. If you're going in winter kind of time, I'd say latter part of November into March. Any of those sort of periods of time. We talk about Everest Base Camp now. Then you're probably going to need definitely a 4 season. When it comes to Kilimanjaro, you could get away with a 3 season. Again, it depends on the time of year. If you're going in sort of January, February, we run some trips around then. I'd stick with a 4 season. When we were on, we took a 4 season and it was perfect, absolutely perfect out there. If you go in sort of summer months, you could probably get away with a 3 season, but take a 4 if you're going on Kili, because you won't, once you're up there. Knowing the guys, if you weren't liking it, they'd probably run back down and grab you a new one. Especially if it's Yese. But it's difficult when you're in a remote region then, or somewhere that's not easily accessible. Machu Picchu, you don't need winter sleeping bag for that. 3 seasons fine. When on the actual Tomakea route, we do some camping, and a 3 seasons perfect there. Even though you go over one of the high passes. When you drop down, it's where you camp is actually quite nice, and Peru's where you are is quite warm anyway. You're thinking of Mount Toubkal, so just sort of go on that trip. Again, if you're going in the winter, then you probably need a 4 season, because you're going to be staying in the refuge. You're going to be maybe camping, depending as well if you're on the 8 day or the 4. So if you're on the 4 day, it's literally up, refuge, climb, back down. It's really quick. So again, you're not going to be out in the elements. But just think about the time of year you're going. It's always good to do a little bit of research. But if you do want any advice on that, just pop us a little question. Email us, message us, even pop it in the other group, and we'll get back to you. But yeah, cheers, Dave. It's been another good one.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorite ones. Every time we decide we're going to do a kit one, I'm always like, get in.
I know you do love talking about kit, but no, it's great. It's always great to see everyone. See the usuals, and see some old friends as well. So yeah, I hope you're all staying safe. Again, we'll be back next week. Whenever Tuesday tune in. But as I said, anything in the interim, just give us a shout, and we'll get back in touch.
Yeah.
Nice one, Dave. Chat to you soon.
Nice one, and cheers, guys. All the best. Bye.